Hello friends, I am Dr. Amarjit Kaur. I am Professor of Accounting and Communication at Department of Management, Gurugram University. I am heading the Faculty of Commerce and Management as Dean. So I am very happy to be present here today to discuss about crisis communication in organization. In the first half we have discussed what is crisis communication, what is the importance of crisis communication, what is the need of crisis communication, and what are the 5 C's of crisis communication. In this half I am going to talk about the crisis communication plan, its importance, the strategy we follow, and we are going to see through certain examples that how businesses actually dealt with the crisis through effective communication, right? So it's going to be very interesting because I'm going to share very good examples, actual examples, by of course referring to the site we are using for that purpose. Okay, so friends, whenever there's a crisis happening in a business, in a company, the most important thing is that company must respond promptly, accurately and confidently. There are 3 things. Prompt response is the need of the hour during the time of crisis, and so the communication should be as much accurate as possible, because purpose is to avoid ambiguity. Purpose is to beat the ambiguity through the communication, and another purpose is to gain confidence of the stakeholders, because of the dent that crisis is going to cause, there's a likelihood that people are losing confidence in your business, in your product, in your promises, right? So 3 things become very important. There's a prompt communication, there's an accurate communication, and that communication actually brings back the confidence in your brand, in your product, in your company. Okay, so there are many stakeholders for any product, for any business for that matter, and they must be reached out by the company through the communication plan to confirm information or to provide them specific need. And there could be different stakeholders and they have a different need, mind you. Okay, so we should be able to share confirmed, accurate or specific information which caters to the interest or the need of the different stakeholder. So image of business can be actually positively impacted or negatively impacted by the perception which we built through our communication, because public perception is going to be built up, right, during that incident, during that time. You can take the example of Corona. There were thousands of companies, who responded very fast, but there were businesses who could not. To take the example of education industry, they were strongly impacted. There were many educational institutions who could start their online classes within 2 days by making an announcement, adopting technology as quick as in the same day. But there were businesses, there were academic institutions who were shut down for 2, 3, 4 months completely. There was no class at all, even the online class I am talking, right? This is a reality. So the public perception starts on building up, and the business crisis communication plan should be such that this does not impact the company negatively, it should impact positively. So what is crisis communication plan if we have to define it? So a crisis communication plan is basically consolidation of rules, guidelines, procedures. So a set of guidelines, a set of procedures which is used to prepare a business for any emergency or unexpected event. So if you have traveled or in any airline, in the beginning, before the flight takes off, the air hostesses, they do announce that these many exit doors are there in case of emergency. No one should try to open the exit door unless crew or the captain says execute, so they announce those things in advance. What is that? That is the communication plan in the times of crisis, right? So this is how exactly any business need to prepare a crisis communication plan. It should have guidelines, it should have procedures as much possible, written very well, documented very well, known to as many people in advance. That really helps. Now this crisis communication plan is basically all about that who is responsible for what, and then how to communicate with the stakeholders during the time of crisis. This plan documents that I would be as a product manager would be responsible to communicate if there is a crisis about the product. I as a technology guy will be responsible to communicate to the stakeholders during the time of technological failure, and so on. So who is responsible for what and how would they communicate? What kind of medium they would use, what kind of message they would use. Something is prepared, is thought of in advance, very much like the rules which we have to evacuate a plane during the time of emergency. As they say, no one should evacuate, no one should actually pull the handle of the emergency door unless there is a announcement, evacuate, evacuate, evacuate 3 times. So everybody knows, this is in the mind of everyone. First announcement of evacuation, one should not open. After 3 complete announcements of evacuate, 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 only then the plane's emergency door should be broken, right? So this is exactly basically a crisis communication plan. Then a business needs to have well prepared, well documented plan. It should just not be that it is there but it is not documented, it is not written in black and white. So this is what the communication plan is, especially the crisis communication plan. Now every crisis communication plan has goal. In case of an emergency landing, the plane has a goal to safeguards the casualty to the mankind, to the life, casualty to the to the goods and services, etc., etc. There is a goal of every plan. So that goal should be there. That what is the goal of the crisis communication plan? Few crisis communication plans could be designed to deal a natural calamity. Another could be to deal with the technological issues. Another could be to deal with the values or organizational structure issues, some violence issue. So every plan should have its own goal, right? Then members of crisis management team should be known to all. They should be well defined. Who is the part of that crisis management team? In case it happens, who are the key audiences? Either my customers are my key audiences or my stakeholders, my investors are key audiences. In the time of financial crisis, maybe my investors are my key audience. In case of the problem is or crisis is about the product, then my clients, my customers are my key audiences, right? So that should be documented. What all steps should be taken if a particular type of crisis emerges. So that step should be defined for different types of crisis, because as we discussed in the beginning, we have couple of types of crisis and business may come across any kind of crisis. Then how you are going to communicate with the public is very important. It should be part of the communication plan, crisis communication plan. How to prevent issues from happening in future, in case of natural crisis, from hurting your company again. Even that should be documented, that in case something happens, how would we draw conclusion and how would we ensure that it doesn't occur in future again. Okay, so that is the crisis communication plan. So the key elements of a crisis communication plan is that there is a designated spokesperson who is supposed to be speaking. Last year in November, we have an international conference at my department. I was actually convening that conference, and we have one of the speaker from a very big hospital. I will not name the hospital. She was from that particular hospital, and she was supposed to be part of a panel discussion. At the very last minute, 11th hour you may say, I get a call from her saying, sorry ma'am, I won't be able to come to the university to be part of this panel discussion. Reason being, yesterday this was the issue, or this was the emergency in the hospital. There were few deaths, there was some issue, and I am the corporate communication team head, and I need to communicate with the people affected. So I have to be here at my workplace. This is a real story, real example I am sharing, which happened last year in November with me when I was organizing my international conference. So there's a designated person. She knows that I am a designated employee to deal with or to communicate to the general public or the affected party during the crisis. Okay. Then the second thing is, the second element in a crisis communication plan is that the media policies are defined, the media procedures are defined, that how would we communicate with the external parties. So that is what external communication is. So media policies, media procedures are well defined because they do impact the total outcome of crisis management. So another element of crisis communication plan is that there are guidelines for internal communication as well, because employees are equally anxious, and those are the people who are actually working day and night to deal with the crisis. So it's important that they know the real issue, they know, they have the specific information, they are getting updated information very often, they are not anxious or their anxiety levels are in control. To ensure that, we must have certain guidelines for internal communication during the crisis time, right? Then the next element is we should have readily available statements. Every business would know what is the most likelihood for a particular type of crisis. Okay, so a particular type of crisis could be like technology related issue, financial issue, violence issue, something like that. So if I know as a company that X thing or Y thing can happen, or X or Y crisis can happen, how should I respond? If we prepare 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 statements in advance to begin with, that this would be my beginning statement, this is how I would be reacting to, that is very nice. That is actually, if we have readily available statements, that saves the time, and that also safeguards a company against any misstatement. Political parties generally have those readily prepared statements during the time of crisis. They keep on facing a crisis because some or the other political party would be blaming them, something will be coming up against them. They are always ready with the statement, prepared statement. That is also the part of crisis management or crisis communication plan. Now, the importance of crisis communication plan. It plays really a good, important role, vital role in effectively managing and recovering from the business emergency which has happened because of the crisis. Right? So it plays a vital role, because unless you are able to gain the trust again or make some positive impact in the mind of customers, your business cannot survive. Okay, so it really plays a vital role in that direction, and then it ensures that you are the one in control of the narrative which has come up. Narrative could be actual, narrative could be a fabricated one by the competitors or just by somebody under ignorance, but it should be the outcome that you do not seem to be falling prey of that narrative. Rather, you have control on that narrative. Okay. Then companies are able to build and maintain their existing relationship. That's another important point of crisis communication plan, that companies can build, can maintain their relationship with the stakeholders, be it clients, customers, government agencies, media, whatever it is in question. Then customers, they get reminded about that business is still alive, it's still active, it is responding to the crisis which has happened. So that message should be going, that goes through the communication plan, the crisis communication plan, and that's a very important part of the crisis communication plan. And what happens, because people are updated, customers are updated on what is happening, employees are updated, so they started developing trust again in the company and its product. So overcoming any damage is possible if we have a very good crisis communication plan in place, we have crisis communication procedures in place. So the crisis communication strategy is the next thing which I want to talk about is, so it's not possible for any business to predict when the crisis will happen, right, and what kind of difficult situation it will lead to. Okay, so to avoid any negative impact that can occur as an aftermath of such event, so it becomes very important or imperative that a business has crisis communication strategy in place. Okay, so strategy will help a business protect their reputation. It will help the business to build a positive public image. It will help business to generate a high profile business or come out of the scandals very efficiently. Okay. So in crisis communication plan, what is that which works? So we have couple of examples that during or after the crisis or immediately after the crisis, businesses are offering discounts on future purchases. Then businesses are actually apologizing to customers. We have many examples in the automobile industry where the car manufacturers have to recall their product, a particular model of a car, because of one particular part being damaged or one part being faulty. It could be brake, we have couple of examples for that matter, right? So those products can be called back, and companies do offer good discounts on future purchases so that the customers believe that they are heard, they believe that their problems are solved, they believe that company has concern for them, right? Contacting the customer directly to apologize, that's another way to deal with the situation. A business may simply call upon a business or a company or the customer, whosoever they are dealing with, and say sorry. That's the best way. Apologize that this happened, it will not happen in future, this was due to this, and then they can actually go a long way. The next point in which we feel which works in the crisis communication plan is changing the company's policy that caused the issue. Altogether, companies will say that we were buying this particular spare part from XYZ, and due to this faulty part and the damage it has caused to the reputation of the company, we have decided henceforth this product, which is part of the car, for example, will not be procured from the same supplier anymore. This is a so they change the supplier. They may have been buying that particular part from the last 20 years, mind you, that is quite possible. But company showed, by announcing this and by actually changing the supplier, company showed that how much concerned they are about the customer, about that faulty product and the experience of, or the bad experience of the customers. So they just made a change in the policy itself, right? The next, point which can work as a part of communication plan or crisis communication plan is sacking the employee whosoever was responsible. This happens many a times in political parties. They will sack a particular MP, MLA who made some statement, who was found guilty of something, and that was causing damage to the reputation of the party. Same way, if a particular employee made a statement in public, made a statement about something which caused damage, disrespect to customer or something like that, if company sacks that employee or employees or group of employees, it shows that company was very quick in action and it responded very well to the occurrence, to the event which happened as a crisis. Offering a refund for many times, companies do offer a refund. For example, during the corona times, many airlines, they did offer refund to the customers who could not fly during those days, especially last year and a half or so, right? That is a gesture which a company can offer, extend and regain its trust. Offering replacement of the product, that's what automobile industry does, that's what electronic industry does. If a particular, especially good companies, they have good practices, they do offer replacement, they do offer refund, they do offer discounts in future purchases. These are the way, and this goes as a part of communication plan, as a crisis communication, that these are the actions we took, right? It's just not the action. It first goes as communication. A message goes around and then the actual delivery takes place, right? So first thing is the communication and then the actual action. So unless that communication is made effectively and reaches out to the customer or affected stakeholders effectively, it cannot work. So I'm going to take a few examples to help you understand what works very well during crisis, as a part of crisis communication plan. So in front of you on the screen, I'm going to take a few examples by name of the company. They are very well quoted. I am sharing the source I have taken this example from. So I have taken this first example of Johnson & Johnson's company, which is reported in New York Times on 25th May 2020. And I am going to show you the source as well. So with due acknowledgement to the source, I am quoting this example with due responsibility of mine, of course. So what was the crisis in case of Johnson & Johnson's? 7 people died who took one painkiller named Tylenol, right? So it turned out to be poisoning, because some bottles were tampered. So the crisis was very, serious. So company, this is the crisis Johnson & Johnson faced. So what was the communication from Johnson & Johnson's company? The company says they immediately ran advertisements to alert consumers not to take their product at all. Stop taking in case you have any Tylenol, this medicine with you, Tylenol, okay? And they stopped the production immediately. Then they ordered a national withdrawal, that we are taking all the Tylenol tablets, we are withdrawing it from wherever we have supplied. And after 6 weeks, they designed the first triple lock tamper resistance container. So it was so fast, so quick. They developed a triple lock tamper resistant container, and they stopped manufacturing tablets and they came out with probably a liquid, right? So this was the communication plan. The response company made, and they were able to regain. What was the lesson during this? That with immediate and transparent response. So Johnson & Johnson responded very transparently, right, during that crisis. They regained the market share quickly because they focused on customer. So they didn't think about their profit. They didn't think about short-term benefits. They just thought about how can we take care of our customer in the best way, right? So at the bottom you have the source, you can read more about this example. The second example I would like to take is about the Pepsi. In 1993, so in Washington DC in USA, a couple claimed that they found a syringe in the bottle of Diet Pepsi. So syringe, which is used for injection, that was a very dangerous claim. Okay, so what was the communication plan, or what was the response of Pepsi to this? So in response to this allegation, the brand, they created a video campaign showing that how do they fill the the liquid in their bottles. So they actually filmed the whole canning process of their product so that people could see this. It's not practically possible to have any syringe in the can, in the bottle, right? So video went to prove that such a mistake was simply impossible. So what is the lesson out of this example? So the company managed to stay transparent. They allowed customers to see what is behind the customers. They showcase that the production is safe, and brand dispelled the allegation and regained the trust of people. So you have the source at the bottom of this slide, which tells you where did I get this example from. Then same way we have example of KFC. In February 2018, KFC in the Ireland and UK, two countries, their outlets went out of staple offering, chicken. So there was no chicken available on KFC, Kentucky Food Corporation, right? What did they do? Brand placed an unconventional ad spreading the Sun and the Metro, where they playfully and suggestively rearranged the brand name letters to FCK, right? And they also allowed their clients to track the delivery status of chicken in the local KFC outlets. So this is how they responded. What is the lesson? The KFC was quick, witty, on board response, similar kind of response, right? So they turned the local reputation of crisis into a globally viral campaign. So this is how the crisis communication plan took place by KFC. The last example I want to quote is of American Red Cross. So what was the crisis here in this company? Actually, one of the employee accidentally posted something personal, which was inappropriate tweet on the organizational account. It said about something, Ryan found 4 bottle packs of dogfish heads, etc., etc. So what was the response of the company? The solution they offered is, instead of ignoring the tweet of the employee, they took it in a very humorous approach to this. They posted another tweet saying, "We have deleted the rug tweet, but rest assured that Red Cross is sober and we have confiscated the keys." Right? So Red Cross is not alcoholic, doesn't drink, it is very much sober. So it was a very humorous approach, but they chose to respond. They would have simply deleted the tweet and could have opted to stay mum, silent, right? So the lesson is, this was a very authentic human approach which American Red Cross followed, and they were able to cope up with the embarrassing situation, and they were successfully able to deal with the situation. So this is how exactly corporate communication takes place. So in all, I would like to conclude that there is only one golden rule for crisis communication plan, and that is communicate with the public quickly and accurately, right? If a business communicates quickly and accurately, as we saw in these 4 examples, the businesses can actually outbeat any kind of crisis. So communication is the crux, but communication should be quick, accurate, timely, right? Thank you very much, friends. With this, I will like to wind up now. Thanks.